Hello, my name is John Reynolds. On this episode of Extraordinary Life Stories, I'm talking with broadcaster and TV presenter Natalie Pinkham. Natalie has presented numerous sports on TV and been the face of Poker Channel, and most recently, literally owning the role of pit lane reporter with Sky Sports F1 since 2012. And she's getting ready for another season kicking off shortly. I want to know how she juggles family time with a busy job that takes her around the world. Natalie organises Flackstock, a festival which the stars attend en masse to celebrate the life of her friend, Caroline Flack, who tragically took her own life. I'm really looking forward to talking with Natalie. Natalie, thank you for joining me.
What a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
I've been looking forward to it. Tell me,
Likewise.
Who is Natalie Pinkham?
Crikey. Well, I am first and foremost a mother,
Yep.
I would say. That's the most important role in my life. A wife, a fundraiser, campaigner, broadcaster.
Yeah.
Bit of everything thrown in.
Yeah.
And I like it that way. I mean, it's hectic. Our life is crazy, sleep deprived. But the
still smiling,
energy,
though.
yeah, and I think the energy of all of that sort of drives us as a family.
Yeah.
We're all a bit like that. We're always sort of juggling, but I get a buzz off that.
Yeah.
I think it's the way we've always been, actually. Me as a person, part of my family, my parents, very similar, and I've kind of met a kindred spirit in my husband that wants to take that baton and run with it as well.
Yeah. I love that. We're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Going back to a young Natalie growing up,
Yeah.
What did you want to be?
So I was always fascinated with the box in the corner of the room being the television.
Sure.
And I didn't know whether I wanted to be a producer or a presenter, but my mum says that everything was a performance. So, even buttering bread in the morning, I was like, and here is a piece of bread, and let me show you how to butter it. And here's my helpful assistant. And my mum would be like, get on with it.
I love it.
Get to school, for
So I
God's
assume
sake.
you excelled in drama.
I loved all of that. I've always loved sport,
Yeah.
massively into every single sport, watching and participating. So sports programming was something that I was always, from the age of 4, obsessed with. And my earliest sporting memory was watching the 1984 Olympics.
Cool.
When Decca Slaney and Zola Budd clashed.
Yeah.
And fell, and Zola was my hero. We've actually just got a cat. We're picking the cat up on Monday, called Zola.
No way.
After
Goes right
Zola
back to that.
and Gianfranco, my 2 sporting heroes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember watching that, and I remember saying to my dad, what just happened? And he was like, look, this is your first life lesson. Some things aren't fair. You've got to fight harder for whatever you want in life.
That's cool.
And I remember seeing Zola Budd get back up and run, famously without shoes on.
Yeah.
And I remember just being so inspired in that moment. And I remember thinking, I want to work in sports television, whether it's live sport, whether it's sports documentaries.
Yeah.
I was always just fascinated in it.
It's
Either
interesting.
producing or presenting, and it's ended up being.
You can
a bit
feel
of
the
both.
passion coming off you for that. And actually, it's interesting because sport transcends so much emotion.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I love sport. I was in the rugby team and all the different things you can do at school, and then participated in sports since. But when you watch sport, especially from a live point of view, where you're there or on the TV, it's amazing how powerful the emotions are and the life lessons you can get from it.
Absolutely. I mean, I really believe in sport as a vehicle for social change. That is something I'm really passionate about, is using sport, this thing that brings us together. For me, it's sport and music are the 2 key things that transcend everything.
Yeah.
And obviously there's the sort of dividing lines through sport. There's tribalism when you support different teams, but there's underpinning that is a passion and a love for what you're actually out there on the pitch achieving, or the racetrack, whatever it is, whatever sport it is. I think it's something in humanity. It taps into something deep in all of us.
It does.
But
Connects
if we
us.
can, 100%. And I think if you can use that for the greater good, then you're harnessing something very special and affecting positive change.
Yeah, I like that. So back to Natalie growing up. So you're passionate about sport and you want to be in TV. How did you mesh the 2 together?
Well, I think it was a bit of a process, and like all our lives are working processes. We're all works in progress. But I picked up bits of work whenever I could get them out of uni. I actually read politics at university. So I've always been interested in politics. Actually, my dad's always wanted me to go into politics.
Okay. I was going to ask why do that when you were so interested in sport and so on, because that education curriculum I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So why did politics was influenced by your dad, not so much by you?
Yeah,
Or?
but I think probably as a family, we've always, we're big debaters. We always talk about the bigger issues in the world. And but our passion and our shared love is sport and music. And yeah, so I don't know really. I've always just had an interest in it, and I thought it was quite a good degree to do. And I went to Nottingham Uni, and I loved it. And I think Dad's always been a bit disappointed that I haven't used it more with my career. But I think actually, I don't think any university degree is ever wasted. And I think there are elements of it that you can draw upon throughout your life, no matter what you're doing. And with managing people,
it could still come as well.
Yeah.
Some of what we'll talk about later, there's some politics involved, and I know you were at number 10 not that long ago, and the whole thing develops into something. The knowledge you learn, you don't know.
I totally agree, and also career changes can happen whenever. I mean, my mum didn't qualify as a lawyer till she was 40. So
right.
She's a barrister now. I won't tell you her age; she'll kill me. But she's still going strong.
Fair play.
Yeah. So so did politics at Nottingham, and then I came and worked my way up, runner, researcher.
Yeah.
I made terrible cups of tea, and it was
deliberately.
It's like, oh, I'm really rubbish at hoovering. Well, don't hoover anymore. Okay. Terrible at tea. Oh, make her run the scripts from studio to studio instead. And I would just love the studio environment.
Yeah, the buzz.
Oh, what a buzz. And I felt very intrigued by the processes of television.
Yes.
In that final outcome. So I would watch things on TV, and then I would wait to the credits, and I'd write down who had directed or produced it, and then I would write to them or call them.
That's cool.
And that's quite good for being a salesperson as well.
Well, it's really entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Because you're creating your own opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so out of that, did that create the break?
Yeah. So then I would say, look, I'll come and shadow, work for you for nothing, whatever it was. And I ended up at Endemol as a researcher on Ready Steady Cook out of uni. Still can't cook, working on that though. And then I just got opportunities, at Sky Sports, and I was obsessed with Sky Sports from such a young age. I remember watching it thinking, what a cool place that would be to work. And then I loved Formula One with my brother. He and I would watch it and discuss it and go to Silverstone together. And then actually it was 5 Live that came in and offered me a job working as a pit lane reporter for 5 Live. And I thought, what a great way to sort of learn about the workings of Formula One. A bit under the radar. It's not live TV. It's not the pressure of live TV. So I did that. But actually my first love was and always has been television.
Sure.
So when I got the opportunity to go back to Sky Sports, I jumped at it.
So actually, listening to you, you've married the perfect blend of career and interests. You could say you're doing your dream job.
Well, I think, you're probably right.
And you're bloody good at it.
Oh.
I mean, it's clear the passion's there. And actually, you can see that from being a punter watching the TV, but you can feel it when you're having a conversation with you. And why Formula One? What is it about Formula One that, because I'm a fan as well, right? What is it about Formula One that's so great?
I think it has it all as a sport. It's theatre, it's drama, it's jeopardy. There's so many subplots. Anyone that says this is just a driver in a car, lapping in the circles it's just not true. There's a huge team element to it. There's so much pressure on every single team member to perform, and that you always feel that there's more to know and there's more to learn. I've been in the sport for 13 years now, and I still feel as if it's the tip of the iceberg. There's I'm always reading more and learning more and talking to people, and you speak to someone like Adrian Newey, and he, the great Adrian, the biggest brain in Formula One, still says that he's learning about the sport, and you can see it, by the way, even in testing. I watched him yesterday, just rubbing his chin, looking at the car, just working out where progress could be made. And I love that about F1.
It's a whole growth mindset. Yeah, that's it. Innovation, right?
Absolutely.
And actually just saying, like you say about behind the scenes and so on, you in your role get to see all that. As a punter, again, maybe going to a race or just watching it, you never had that until Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I think, there's an element of the sport's become a show. There's an element of the fact that my wife now watches it. She watches Drive to Survive. Yes.
Brilliant.
And look what it's done for the global popularity. So it's achieved that goal of people that perhaps never would have watched or known about Formula One.
Yeah.
But have you sensed any, particularly the people that you spend a lot of time with in the pit lane, has that sporting element been reduced as a result?
No, definitely not. For me, Formula One used to be guilty of not feeling accessible, particularly to young women. And, there was a time when the only women that you would see in the sport would be the grid girls.
Yes.
And they wouldn't be talking, they'd be standing there being judged purely on their looks.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a bit of glamour in the sport. That's
Yeah,
great.
sure.
And these girls are fantastic. But I wanted them to do more, because I used to talk to them, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
they're the only other, I mean,
Yeah.
great
Bit
to
of
have.
camaraderie.
Yeah. But I didn't like the fact that their role was so limited just to holding a placard.
Yeah.
Drive to Survive has opened up. It's told people that they're welcome.
Yes.
This isn't the preserve of the white rich man. It's for everyone.
Yes.
And obviously that's happened simultaneously with Lewis Hamilton's mission to really open up the sport, which has been incredible. And
Sure.
I think we'll only look back in time and realise just how seismic his efforts and contribution to the sport has been, both on and off the track.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. But Drive to Survive, I mean, it's just been this, it's a sort of perfect coming together, hasn't it? That sort of the stars are aligned in terms of really opening up sport and showing the world what a brilliant sort of spectacle it is.
Yeah.
But also all these layers that we just talked about, and the innovation and the technology and the drama and the jeopardy. And it all sort of culminates in a race. I think what they've been so brilliant at, Drive to Survive, is drawing you in to feel invested in every driver.
Totally.
And the drivers,
Giving a story.
Yeah, because you understand that these are human beings. We're all just human beings, and the levels of sacrifice are huge.
Yeah.
Commitment, determination, application, everything, like great life lessons for kids around the world watching.
Yes.
Great role models. I mean, Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest role models of our time. And you know, for me, the moment that spoke volumes about him as a person, Abu Dhabi 2021, when his dad, and I never want to know what Anthony whispered in his ear, because that was a very private moment between father and son. But whatever happened in that moment helped Lewis turn, look Max in the eye and shake his hand and accept defeat in that moment.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe that he left Abu Dhabi with more fans globally than even if he'd taken an 8th world title.
So right. Yeah.
Because what a moment to show kids how to cope in that pressure cooker. I mean,
especially when everyone was standing at home angry. I don't get that animated. I was watching it. We were all, that's it. It was like, what just happened?
What just happened?
But
and
Lewis had the heart still racing. No, I get that.
Because Max had driven in a sublime manner throughout the year. Like, they both deserved it.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to that race and that moment, I mean, I don't want to open a can of worms.
No, I was going to say,
again, because it's like, it's a trigger for a lot of people, but actually all of those people who are triggered by that, talking about that,
including us right now,
should look to Lewis.
Yeah.
Look at what he's done.
Yeah, you've explained that really well.
He's
That's
unbelievable. And Drive to Survive also, and I've said this before, deified and humanised the drivers. So I remember walking through an airport with Sebastian Vettel, and he had his hood up and a backpack on, and he looked like a student. Nobody really turned their heads to look at him. Now, if you're walking through the airport with the England rugby team, you automatically are drawn to look at them because the physical presence. Yeah. And you go,
big lads.
He's a big old unit. Oh, it's Courtney Laws, whatever.
Yeah.
You're then, but because they can kind of, you don't necessarily look at them. And so I remember thinking, he's a multiple world champion and people aren't even noticing him. So what I think Drive to Survive was really, really good at was making you understand them as human beings, but also when the visor comes down, they go to this other level of superhuman. And they do something that we can only dream of. Yeah. They become a superhero. And what powerful television.
I love that. It's so true. And I think that the other thing as well is the way that ultimately Lewis took that from a humble point of view and a failure point of view and was just over it and embracing it. There's so much made of success. It's all about being number one, beating your teammate, keeping your seat, whatever it might be, you've got to succeed. But you can't succeed without failing, and how you deal with it and how you learn from it.
Absolutely.
I'd love to know your own journey with that. You've achieved a lot of success. You've got the dream job. How many people can say that? And you look happy. And you mentioned, as soon as I asked you who you are, the importance of family and life and so on. But what's been your relationship with failure and how you've dealt with it?
Well, it's interesting because I feel a bit of a fraud when you say that, because you.
Oh, just because you're too humble.
No.
But having your own dream job is
honestly,
success in itself.
It's a really like I feel
I get that.
uncomfortable you saying that. I really
didn't mean
do.
to make you feel, but
I know.
But I can say it. I'm allowed to say it.
I don't feel like I am there yet. I really feel like I'm always learning and I've always got more to do.
Well, let me flip it another way. To get to where you got to, you will have gone through all sorts of hoops and things that didn't work out to get there. So actually, it wasn't like it was an easy gift. It wasn't like you were able to get your Formula One and TV work because it was in the family or because you made it easy. So that's possibly another way of reframing it.
I think I was taught from a very early age by both parents that there's no substitute for hard work. Yeah. Like you just got to get your head down and work hard. And, you know, it's all part of your journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite fun to sort of look back on it. But I suppose sometimes you have got to stop and take stock. I say that to my husband a lot. He's very ambitious, very determined, very tenacious. But he'll do something which I think is brilliant, and I'll praise him for it. And he gets awkward with even his wife saying that to him. Okay, that was bloody brilliant. Well done. And he'll go, okay, can we not? Right, what's next? And sometimes I say to him, look, sometimes we just have to stop as a whole family.
Be present. Yeah.
Okay. But we do feel grateful.
But you're good for him in that element.
Yeah,
because actually, and I totally get that kind of relationship with my wife, where actually, you know, something that she shrugs off, I'm like, you've just done really well, and she'll say, and I'm not good at it, so I empathise with that, and I think it's being present and having the right people around you that support you, and understanding what you have achieved or what you've done, which, you know, is also, you know, relevant to you, and actually, in context of success, and you've been around so many successful people in the Formula One paddock and so on, how do you define success?
I think it's a very, very personal thing, because success can be getting out of bed in the morning when you're struggling, you know, and you're not feeling it. So actually in that moment, going to work, just walking out the front door is a huge achievement. Yeah. And then, you know, when you look at the world of Formula One, I think it's the culture that we've just touched upon, is that no one ever sits still. Yeah. So even when they're notching up world championships and they are achieving these great goals, they don't ever sort of take it all in and relax and enjoy it and wallow in it. It's on to the next
thing.
Look, life is busy, life is non-stop, and it's a short life.
Yeah. And
you want to pack as much in as possible. And that's how I feel every day. But I think I need to probably take my own advice sometimes and just stop and take stock of the moment. Yeah. And if I am struggling with something, and I'm training for the marathon at the moment, and I feel like this is like a kind of microcosm of life as a whole. Yeah. Some mornings I just wake up and I just do not feel like going for a run. I mean, look, it's pouring with rain right now. And the thought of going out and that, you're like, yeah. So success in that moment is actually just pulling your trainers on and getting out.
And I bet that's you, because I can tell you're really competitive, and there's a drive. It's like, it's not going to stop me.
Yeah.
Is that? And do you have like a morning routine? You're in the world of Formula 1, there's ice baths and and there's so many things we can do to keep well and keep fit mentally and physically. What works for you?
I think that the marathon has the training for it, at least, because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Has been really good for me in terms of but it's been really good for me in terms of coming back to my body and mind and learning more about the food I'm eating, the sleep I'm getting, the training I'm doing, but also my mental health and clearing my mind and being present. And it's made me think a lot more about my kids and their diet and their, you know, exercise.
You're a better mum as a result, right?
I think so. And I think really imposing that structure on your life is really important. And Formula One does do that for you, because there are structures and we thrive within structures. I believe discipline is really healthy as long as the pressure of it doesn't bring on anxiety. I think you can really blossom within a disciplined structure in life. Yeah,
what's the expression? No pressure, no diamonds, which is extreme, but it is like, you know, actually we need a certain amount of resilience and so on. That's funny. And in context of that almost struggle and things that don't go right, you were great friends with Caroline Flack. Living through that whole process in terms of your own mental health and the the exposure to the bigger picture of what that really meant. How was that for you?
Well, it's not a thing that was, it is.
I get that. You live with it every day.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And it changes,
Yeah.
takes different forms. I think I'm a doer, and I needed to do something about the way I felt. And I looked at her mum, and I needed to do something about the way her mum felt, even though, you know, some might say, well, it's not your responsibility to do that. But I don't know, that's how I feel, is that words are one thing, but action's another. And so we created, together with some friends, a music festival in her honour. And that, in turn, I realised that to create a really positive legacy for Caroline, it has to be a forward-thinking thing, not just looking back on her life and missing her, which we do anyway, of course we do. But now it has to be very positive drive.
It's a celebration of her life, ultimately.
It is, and we always have to harness that, and we always remind ourselves, what would Caroline do? And we always ask her mum at every juncture, are you comfortable with that? Is that right for you and the family? But ultimately, what we want to do is, we've got very big ambitions to improve the mental health of the nation and even the world, you know, just to be present and be, you know, obviously you carry a lot of guilt and, well, a lot of different emotions, anger, guilt, a lot of questions when someone commits suicide. And it's a really weird, horrible feeling. But what we're hoping with this music, and it goes back to music being,
I was thinking
incredible,
transcending, almost like she's there dancing with you, right? That's how I feel when you're talking about it. It's like, where would she be? She'd be right there, and then you're smiling, and there's the celebration, and it transcends the emotion that you're trying to, then bringing amazing people together that all want to ultimately contribute and celebrate like a legacy.
Definitely.
But as you say, then to make changes in the future. Yeah,
because, you know, there's one thing having a great party in a field once a year, but we have then got to have this connective thread throughout the year, so that you don't come to the festival and you go and you talk about the way you feel. Like, we don't want to force people out of their comfort zones to be vulnerable and say, actually, you know what, I am struggling. We have to give them, or offer them, or suggest to them a pathway to recovery as well. So that's what we're working on in her memory as a legacy for her.
Brilliant. It's awesome what you're doing. I think in context of mental health, it's you've just said it, you know, people talked about it for so long. You took action. It feels like at key times in your life you've taken action, which is also like a kind of coping mechanism stroke. You know, I'm not going to be the victim mindset.
That's really good.
You know what I mean? You could, you know, you mentioned that whole don't want to go for a run. The extreme, of course, is in that context of the aftermath of something that tragic as that. Don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and actually I've got to not only get out of bed, I've got to make an impact. I've got to make a change, a social impact that affects other people. So, fair play.
You know, it's interesting because, and I haven't really ever considered that, but it's a really, really good point. And I think I probably learned it from both parents, but mostly from my mum. My mum had a really difficult time, and she had cancer, and she wasn't given long to live, and then she survived it. And then she said it just changed everything for her, because suddenly she was given this gift of a second chance at life. And so everything is yes for my mum. She says yes to everything, which is why she did a law degree at 40. Because she went, why don't I follow my dream?
It's a complete reset, I guess.
So she did that. And I think that's how, as a family, we do cope with things. We go, okay, pressure's on, do something about it. And it might not work, and that's okay if it doesn't quite work, but you've probably come further than you realise when you look back.
And actually flipping that to us both being parents, bringing up children in the digital age, you know, social media and all that can go with that, with anxiety and who knows, inflammation and so on. How are you juggling being a working mum with the charity work, the actual logistics of travelling with the Formula One, and being a present mum, wife? You know, how do you juggle that?
Well, I think it has to be a team effort. So you have to have sort of parity in terms of the emphasis and onus you put on your career with your partner. So they've got to buy into you as much as you do. And then I think the involvement of your family in as much as you can. So we try to take the kids to pretty much everything that we go to, whether it's Glastonbury or They haven't been to Glastonbury yet. They're still pushing for it.
I bet you're looking forward to taking them, aren't you? You're probably pushing them back, but a bit like you've been there to know what it's all about. Yeah.
But certainly Flackstock, we've introduced them to music and live music and festivals, but also to Grand Prix, to also take part in things with us as a family. But also, look, I'm not pretending it's easy, and I am knackered most of the time. So I haven't got this the sort of silver bullet solution, whatever you want to call it. I'm still working it out. Yeah. But I'm enjoying the adventure whilst I do it.
Yeah, I can tell. And actually, I remember flipping back to December, I had a table at the Autosport Awards and you presented that. And you tell me how many people were in that room and the importance of some of those people, from Jackie Stewart to the who's who of motorsport and business. And you owned that night, as far as I was concerned. It was just, and your style, in the same way talking to me now, as in front of those however many thousands of people, was natural and it was energetic and it was humorous. Are you more anxious, if at all, before an event like that or before going on live TV?
Well, I think the short answer is probably I probably have 30 seconds of pure adrenaline before both. Yeah. And I get this like rush.
What, literally as you're coming out with the microphone?
And it's that first 30 seconds of talking, or even 10 seconds, when you just go, okay, talk, and then, oh, okay, I'm into it, it's fine. But without that, I think that kind of adrenaline's really quite healthy.
Yeah,
whatever
I get
you
it.
do.
It's almost setting you up.
And I said that to the kids today, because they've got the swimming gala today, and my son was really stressed about it. I said, but you're really good at swimming, like you're really sporty. He said, yeah, but that's the problem. Everybody thinks I'm going to win. And what if I don't? And I said, well, it doesn't matter if you don't. You're going to feel adrenaline in that first moment, but harness that. And I promise you, as soon as you're into your stroke, you're going to start loving it.
What great advice. We were talking earlier about the education curriculum being archaic and, when did you last use a Bunsen burner? And you know what I mean? And yet actually that advice, that's life advice. Yeah. And actually, I just literally said, how do you make time to do it? But that advice from yourself, your husband, that is life advice, for something like the gala, let alone an exam, whatever it might be, or a presentation, which is all stuff we're going to be doing when 100%. We grow up.
And I tell you what, one key thing that I learned about losing Caroline is that we are all human.
Yeah.
So like anyone looking at Caroline's life would say she had it all, brilliantly successful, incredible live presenter. I don't think anyone realises just how good she was at presenting.
Coming from
live.
You as well.
Honestly, she's the best. She, and lovely energy and would light up a room, but, obviously huge vulnerability there as well. Yeah. So in that moment, when I walk out at the Autosport Awards, or indeed anywhere, or Wilf going into a swimming gala, everyone around you has the same anxiety, ambition, nerves, energy, all the things that make us human. Yeah. And yes, Sir Jackie Stewart has got something that says a 3-time world champion and a legend of the sport. Yeah. But he's still, when you hear him talk about his battles with dyslexia and growing up at school thinking he was stupid, he went on to be a multiple world champion and a champion of safety and a huge ambassador for dementia
with his wife.
So look what he's achieved with it. And yet underpinning it, he's quite a vulnerable child, So I think in any moment, anyone should remember we all...
Yeah, it's quite humbling. Well, it's very humbling.
100%, we're all human. Yeah. We're all human and we all actually need each other to succeed and prop each other up and be there for each other. You
explained that really well. I could talk to you for a long, long time. We're going to run out of time, but I wanted to end with some quick questions on Formula One.
Okay.
Who's the greatest driver in your opinion of all time?
Oh, wow. God, no one cares who I think's the greatest driver.
I do. I just asked you.
Stop it.
And you followed the sport, right? You're in there. And I'm going to ask it in two ways, actually. Yeah. Talent. It's like, so you're the team boss. So you can put anyone in. Wow. And then actually, who's your favourite driver? Because you've met them. You're in a privileged position where for years now, you've met them. So there's two questions there.
Playing for time by having a sip of water.
Tricks of the trade.
I think it's very difficult to compare from different ages.
I get that. But there's someone that comes to the top.
With looking at Senna, thinking he was just. So maybe that taps into the child in me that was just in awe of Senna. But then when you look at Lewis, and see what he's achieved. For me, what separates a sporting great from an icon is how they use their platform.
Yeah.
And for me, what Lewis has done, alongside casually just scooping up 7 world titles,
yeah.
is he's changing the world. And that sounds very grand, but it's true.
No, and it feels like he's only just getting going. If anything, his racing right now is not a distraction, it's what he does, but he's like, you can tell, super focused, but the moment he down tools, he'll just go so full on with making a difference to the world. Which is, and he'll have the resources, the contact. I mean, he'll be formidable.
Yeah.
He already is.
He already is. I mean,
so
it's Lewis
or Senna, if you can put one in the team.
But then I also want to throw in Niki Lauda to that, because for me, he was such a great character in the paddock long after his racing career was over. But then when you actually consider what he did to come back from those catastrophic injuries and race a car, wow, the resilience of that man. So can I have all 3, please?
Need a three-man team.
That's my podium. Yeah.
It's a formidable team. I'm not going to be asked to choose you between them. They're all absolute greats. Who do you enjoy talking to the most in the current crop? So you've got the season coming up. You're going to be, in a matter of days, talking to the guys again. Who's the person that you look forward to putting the microphone in front of? And
do you know, they've all got very different personalities, but there is a sort of like common thread between them. There's a camaraderie between them. Yeah. And I think actually we're sport for choice with the current crop of drivers.
Nice.
You know, Lando's, George, Alex, they're all really good fun.
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo is always brilliant to interview because he always puts a positive spin on whatever's happened. He's one of life's great energizers. Yeah. I love the honesty, frankness of Max and Lewis, because whatever they've been through, they'll be honest and straightforward with you.
Keeps them authentic.
Yeah, and we need that because, you know, it's not all plain sailing. I mean, it looks like it with Max last year, but, you know, you forget the talent that is required to keep delivering. Even though you've got an incredible car, you've still got to do everything right. As it's shown on the Singapore weekend, you drop one ball and suddenly someone else is winning the race. So we're really lucky. And again, I've managed to dodge actually singling it to one person, haven't I?
I know. And I had an inkling of who it might have been, but I think, I actually, you know, Daniel Ricciardo is just, he seems like he'd be exactly the same off camera as on camera. Yeah. And I know you know him well off camera, and so that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
A woman in Formula One. It hasn't happened in context of, you know, an actual secure drive and someone that's come in and just kind of owned it. Can you see that happening?
Absolutely.
Cool.
100%.
And how,
I put
when,
my house on it.
Oh, brilliant.
I think it will be within, I hope, within my lifetime.
Yeah.
There will be a female world champion in Formula One.
Cool.
I'm going to say it here.
I mean, it'd be huge for the sport, right?
It'd be huge for life. It would be huge for global sport, not just Formula One. It'd be huge for the progress of women in every workplace.
And disprove the theory that they can't and shouldn't. You know, it's
there is
archaic.
Nothing physical that precludes a woman from racing a Formula One car and winning in a Formula One car. One of the issues has been power steering. So someone would say, well, there isn't power steering in the more junior series, and therefore physically it's tougher for a woman. Once they get to Formula One, there is power steering, and so there isn't that barrier. Yeah. But I really believe that with the right sponsorship and the right track time, crucially, it's about pounding in those 10,000 hours. It's like the outliers theory, isn't it? You've just got to get that track time in. Yeah. And I believe once we shift the mindset, and I think F1 Academy will achieve that, if we can show girls that it is accessible, that there is an opportunity. Formula One is a meritocracy. If you work hard and you believe, you will prosper and blossom within that framework. And the same can be said for women in motorsport. It will happen. Yeah. Well, I heard it here from Natalie. Thank you so much for talking to you. I've enjoyed it very, very much. Cheers, Nat. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.